All right. Welcome, one and all, to the Off the Rails Sports Podcast. I am your host for this lovely Thursday, and we are going to recap what happened in the beautiful world of sports. God, there was a lot going on yesterday. And if you could hit that like and subscribe button, it means a lot to us. We are just vagabond warriors just trying to give you all the sports information you need. A little later today, I'm going to be on with Brian. Be talking about some baseball. Quite a bit going on, actually. And but let's get to what happened yesterday. I'm not going to keep boring you. OKC shut out, just shut down the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota had that big game 3 win. We thought there might be some life in that body, but no, it was just a corpse. It's like the chicken that got its head cut off. It still runs around the yard for about 30 minutes, but really it's going nowhere. OKC won 124-94. A thoroughly dominating win. I watched it, and literally this game was over at halftime. I mean, they were just going through the motions. They defensively, I don't know how anybody is going to be able to deal with them, especially out of the East. I'm assuming it's going to be Indiana, could be New York. You never know, but that defensive pressure is just so amazing. And when they score points, I mean, they are just unbeatable. They really are. And I think this is going to be the seventh straight year we're going to have a different NBA champ. OKC caused 21 turnovers in the game. Minnesota had Randall at 24 and Edwards at 19. And, honestly, I thought Ant Edwards played pretty well. It seemed like every time he got across midcourt to the top of the key, top of the circle, there was two guys all over him, and there was a third guy just hovering. Look, that's smart. But the other guys, and obviously Randall got his points. I thought Randall had a really good series, even though they didn't win. Sometimes, like Jerry West, the one guy who won MVP in a losing effort in the NBA Finals, right? Sometimes it just doesn't come down your way. And maybe they're going to learn from it. I kind of like where Minnesota is. I really like where OKC is. I personally think they're probably going to make a big play for Giannis, but we will see what the offseason brings. So let's not get to it before we get there. Holmgren for OKC, 22 points, 3 blocks. He is very underrated defensively. I mean, he just seems to be there where the ball is when it really matters. Shea, spectacular as always, 34, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, 2 for 4 from 3 point. And even in the first 16 minutes, whenever Minnesota seemed like they might be making a run, man, there was a 3-pointer just raining down from somewhere from OKC, and they just played better. Jalen Williams scored 19 points. Now they await the winner of the East. I did see that the NBA Finals aren't starting till June 5th. Yeah, great. Isn't that nice? Next Thursday. Great. Get it. They're going to get some time off. I think that actually is going to help the East personally. Go 7 games. Just be a little more battle tested, I guess, would probably be the answer. All right, let's move over to the National Hockey League in the pursuit of the Stanley Cup. We had the Florida Panthers beating down the Carolina Hurricanes by a score of 5-3 to get back to the Stanley Cup with a 4-1 series win. Carolina played really well. I think they had to play almost a perfect game to beat this team. They did that in game 4. I honestly thought they were going to win game 5. But, the first period started out, Carolina was up 2-0. And I was like, yep, they're going to get it back to Florida. They're going to do it. And Florida, that is the heart of a champion. They didn't get rattled. Nothing happened. They scored 3 goals in the second period and took a 3-2 lead into the third period. Carolina tied it up midway through the third period, 3-3. And then with 7:39 left, Carter Verhaeghe got the tie-breaking goal. There was an empty netter at the end by Reinhart for the 5-3 win. And, Florida was just the better team. I liked Carolina. This is 2 out of the last 3 years their seasons ended against the Florida Panthers. Third straight trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. It reckons back to the day of the Tampa Bay Lightning, where they went 3 consecutive years and won the last two. We shall see what the gods have decreed. They await the winner of the Edmonton Dallas series, and where Edmonton is doing pretty well at 2-1. We will see what happens. You don't know. That's the great thing about the Stanley Cup. Even if you're up 3-1, you're really not sure. I mean, Florida was up 3-1, and after the first period, when it was 2-0, I was like, oh boy, we're going back to Florida. It's going to be a thing. And then, Carolina would have had some momentum. I keep hearkening back to it, and I sound like a broken record, but I think what would Colorado have done, and what would Carolina have done if they kept Radden and they didn't pawn him off for pieces of scrap metal, and eventually he made his way to Dallas, who is still alive. So I don't know. It's easy to say after the fact. Believe me, sports is littered with Monday morning quarterbacks. I'm not any different. All right, let's head over to what happened in the Major League Baseball. And we have the Nationals beating the Mariners. Kind of a surprise there. The final game of the series. We got the White Sox beating the Mets. Jesus Christ. 9-4. The Mets. Man, Canning took the loss. He's 5-2 with a 3.2 ERA. The Mets are still 34-22. They're 21-7 at home. They play some really, really good baseball. Scott got the loss for the Dodgers. They lost to the Guardians 7-4 in the finale. They won that series though. The Tigers beat the Giants 4-3. God, they are playing such good baseball. I really don't think it's a fluke. I mean, really, I think they are 37-20. I mean, they are just playing some spectacular baseball. And it makes you think back to the 84 Tigers that started out 35-5. I mean, the Tigers are just ripping it up. There's 17 games over 500. And then you think there was a team at one time in the first 40 games got 35 wins. I mean, it's Jesus Christ, man. It's just amazing. The Red Sox lost in extra innings again to the Brewers 6-5. Just when I think the Red Sox are going to start making some heat. 27-31. Jesus Christ, what's going on there? Rays beat the Twins 5-0. Astros beat the Athletics 5-3. Astros are actually at 30-25. They're actually doing pretty well. I was kind of surprised. Brown and Valdez are pretty good in the rotation. Pirates, in an upset of the night, actually got a win. I don't know. Maybe there's a scoring error here. I don't know how that happened. 10-1 over the D-backs. D-backs aren't even at 500, which really, really surprises me a lot. The Marlins beat the Padres 10-8. Nothing to see here. The Marlins are 22-32. They're 9-17 on the road. They're playing almost 500 ball at home. It's kind of surprising. Cardinals get another win. That is really the biggest surprise team I could think of. They are 32-24 versus on the good side. The surprise team on the bad side is the team they beat tonight. The Orioles are 19-36. And like we've talked about, are the Cardinals a seller at the trade deadline? I really think they're going to get rid of Mullins. I mean, you're not getting rid of Rushman. At the end of the day, that's what you're going to do. The Cubs beat the Rockies 2-1. Rockies 9-47. Jesus H. Christ. I mean, I wish we had relegation. I know I hate to talk about stuff, but man, what the hell is that all about? The Blue Jays beat the Rangers. Rangers are just in one of those spins, those mid-season spins. 27-30. The Blue Jays 27-28. It's just what it goes down. And the Braves and the Phillies were postponed. All right, if you could hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave some comments. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon on Off the Rails Sports Podcast. See you soon.